How you feeling about the Carson Wentz connection?
Second. Don't forget, I was the one who interviewed Jason Kelsey about, Jason Kelsey about Nick Foles' big member, and that was.
Oh, I didn't realize it was Jason Kelsey. That's awesome.
Yeah, I should actually share that again today because of that was the anniversary of Media Day. Stokastic's own Michael Lawrence is representing the
That is amazing. That is amazing stuff.
Oh, Anthony Davis hurt himself. Okay. You know who is really hot? Jennifer Lawrence. And I'm not talking about the movie star Jennifer Lawrence, if you know what I mean. Wow.
Oh, my wife. She
Wow.
Oh, hot mic. Hot mic. Yeah. Oh, get it? Hot mic. Oh, this can go in a variety of directions here, but
we all get
we'll
it.
Get this show.
We all get it.
All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday evening here as we get ready for a little NBA action in advance of the big game. You know what that means tomorrow, the Super Bowl. We, of course, have early NFL coverage. I believe we're going around like from 1 to 3 or something like that. People will be looking for live before lock. The reason we don't do the live before lock up to kickoff because everybody's at their Super Bowl parties. We want to make this useful to you guys. Plus, we're gonna know who plays and all of that. So you get all the good information. You can set your lineups. And then if anything unforeseen happens, you can tweak things on your phone when you're off watching the game with your friends. I will be having a rousing night. It will be myself, my mom, and my wife. And I'm making nachos, super nachos, if you will. Matt, are you going to be the only one watching the game in your house?
Potentially. I mean, I got a sick household right now and 2 girls that really couldn't give a shit anyways. So that could be the case. I hadn't really thought about that till now, but yeah, for sure. I was telling you before, I can't remember the last time. This is the least hyped I've ever been for a Super Bowl. I don't know why. Maybe I'll get into it more tomorrow, like playing some DFS, but as of now, I can't even like get into it that much.
It seems a little different. Mike, if you want to do playback for us here, I'll hop on over there. I too am starting to write the articles, and it's funny, which hopefully that should be out early in the morning when you guys are ready there, because I'll try to finish that up tonight and get that over to the editors. It's just like we've seen these teams so much. Not that it's I mean, God, they had a great Super Bowl matchup a couple years ago, so I'm looking forward to this. But the teams, they've been in the playoffs. These have been heavy rotation primetime teams, so we kind of have seen them a lot. And then 4 out of 5 years having Kansas City in there, it's sort of like a tradition. And you can't really work up the hate for Patrick Mahomes like you could for Tom Brady, or the polarizing impact. Because everybody kind of likes, like even my mom, she's like, oh, I like Patrick Mahomes. He's always making crazy throws. So
No, yeah. I mean, Mahomes is very likable. There's like nothing not to like about him except that he wins.
yes, and that does make us a little jealous for those of us who do not have awesome quarterbacks on their team, sort of like myself. And I saw that Geno Smith got a vote of confidence today, which was interesting. But let's talk a little NBA here. I got to fix my mic because I am sure I have mucked this up somehow. No, it looks good. I'm over there on playback, so I think we're good to go here. So what we're going to do tonight, dear viewers, is we're going to look a little bit at the Washington Wizards and Atlanta Hawks, because this game has the most moving parts, just because each team has been heavily involved in trades. Now, the good thing is we have most of the news that we really need, and we know the availability of players. But we saw last night that the Wizards, lost, of course, to your Cleveland Cavaliers, but they were feeling a little spicy because they had won 3 games in a row prior to that, including last Saturday when they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota. And that was a game, if we remember, Chalk Naz Reid hurt his hand or hit his thumb. So he only played about 19 minutes. Julius Randle was out, Dante DiVincenzo was out, and Anthony Edwards was out in that one. So the Wizards snuck out a win there, just being pesky. Last night, we saw Jordan Poole drop 45 points. If my memory serves, he had like 30 or 32 field goal attempts. I think 20 field goal attempts going forward for him is probably going to be the baseline. If I remember, he's around 16 per game right now, but Kyle Kuzma out of the picture. Jonas Valanciunas traded. Who else? Marvin Bagley was traded. Their crappy guards, Butler and Davis, who never plays, their first round picks. Those guys are out of there, but they do have players coming in. They're just not ready yet. So Anthony Gill hurt himself last night. He's out. Keyshawn George played last night. He's out as well. They have signed Jalen Martin and Jalen Noel to 10-day contracts. So they've got some bodies. Maybe someone comes up from the Capital City Go-Go's. But they're not going to be. So I think they're going to have about 9 players again. But Chris Middleton not ready to play yet. Alex Sarr, their own rookie, he's been out. He's going to miss a 7th straight game with an ankle issue. And then Marcus Smart is. He hasn't really. I can't. It's hard to tell who's Detroit's trades have cleared and which not. But he's been dealing with the thumb injury, right? So he played 1 game. Before he left Memphis, but he had missed 21 games before that. And then you've got Malcolm Brogdon floating around there. He's going to be available. So you have 4 veterans there for the Wizards, but they're really just trying to maintain value for 3 of them until they trade them next year, most likely. And that would be Brogdon, who maybe he's worth a 2nd round pick swap or something. And then you can get something for Middleton or Smart. But when those guys play, and I expect them to play sort of in that Detroit hockey line rotation of their tanking years. Every couple games, these guys are going to play. They're just going to be out there to maintain value, get 26 to 28 minutes, and just, sort of just be, hey, remember us, and get them ready for next year and spruce them up. So tonight, it's looking like it's all Jordan Poole all the time. On the Atlanta side, the moving parts are Clint Capella was kind of in trade limbo. He had a bit of an injury, but he's missed like the last 7 games. He's available. He was at the game last night in street clothes, and they had said he was going to play tonight. They have Karis LeVert available, who came over from Cleveland as part of that DeAndre Hunter deal. You have George Niang, who also came over as part of that deal. He's good to go tonight. Terrence Mann came over in a separate deal from the Clippers. That was for Bogdan Bogdanovic. So he's going to be in the mix. And then the last one was Justin Champagny didn't play last night for the Wizards. He is available tonight. So he and Keontae George are kind of Keyshawn George, not to be confused with Keontae George. Keyshawn George are sort of swapping rotation spots tonight. There's a lot of value in this game. There's a lot of moving parts at 238 total. So as we've seen the dust settle, let's look at the guards here. Trae Young looking pretty good. Jordan Poole looking pretty good. Do you want to talk about those fellas? Do you want to expand out here? What do you got for us now that I've got everybody fired up saying, why isn't Matt talking? Why do we have to listen to this old guy?
So, yeah, Washington looks similar to how they did last night. I would say a little bit worse. They have like 1 or 2 more bodies. It's a better spot against Atlanta, though. No Keyshawn George does open up Champagny. It's weird that he's more expensive than Keyshawn George, but it is what it is. As far as the point guards go, I mean, Jordan Poole took like 80 shots last night, so he's still too cheap at 7,100. I always get real cautious with like uber chalky Jordan Poole, and he's going to be the most popular player on the slate today for good reason. But we've seen the downside with Poole also. Now, the majority of his downside games came when they had, Kuzma and other options to at least take a little bit of usage from him. They don't have those guys now, but that doesn't mean that, Poole is guaranteed to have a good game. So I am leery of his ownership. Trae Young, I think looks good. Just a tournament play that looks good, not like a cash game priority at that price. Poole would be the guy that I think people are just locking in everywhere, and I get it. He projects for 43.5 fantasy points at 7,100. I would just be a little cautious in that Poole is a guy that can go way over his projection or way under his projection on a nightly basis. I know if all players fit that mold, but you know, Poole is one of the guys in the league that I think fits that to a T, in that he projects for 45 fantasy points, but you don't know if you're going to get 60 or 25.
Yeah, it's just it is a pool party one way or the other. You're jumping into an empty pool or you're having fun with all of the lovely ladies in their bikinis. That is a Jordan pool party. 53% projected popularity on DraftKings, 44% on FanDuel. That is number one on both sides. FanDuel is including the two late games, which does make for a few differences here and there, especially in the mid-tier. They are including New Orleans at Sacramento, also including Utah at the Los Angeles Clippers. So there's a couple value plays in there. I see someone in the chat mentioning Collier. You've got some different center options. And then, of course, you've got there's decent mid-tier options as well that start to change out the Nas Reeds and some of the other forwards that we're going to talk about that have 50 to double, so not an additional 50, but if it's 10 versus 20 and 10 versus 30 ownership differences on DraftKings and FanDuel, that does make a bit of a move there. The guy I really liked was Dyson Daniels. So let's see where he was in our early projections. He was super popular here. I'm assuming he must have fallen off. So he's down to 14% on FanDuel, 15% on DK. I like him because I think he's an excellent combo guard. His defense can get him those blocks and steals, especially in a fantasy-friendly matchup against the Wizards. Wizards playing for the entire season and pretty much any time period or section of the season you pick. They are bottom 5 in defensive efficiency and top 5 in pace for the season. They're basically the team that you want to pick players against. They also are 3 games worse than any other team in the league. So they are, they, even if they accidentally win, like they won on their little 3-game winning streak here, they already have had twin 16-game losing streaks. So they can sort of play with abandon. And if this thing people keep forgetting, the worst 3 records in the league get the same number of ping pong balls. So they have plenty of room to keep being one of the bottom 3 teams. So that alleviates a little pressure. And I think that's where I believe they're going to take that Detroit approach, where those other 3 veterans we talked about are playing every other game or 2 or 3 times a week, try to keep them healthy, since most of them have they're oft injured players at this point. Anything else from this game, or would you like to expand across the rest of the guards?
The NBA guard universe. One thing I want to say, one guy I like here that isn't picking up a lot of ownership, coming off a slate where he was the chalkiest player on the slate, is Karis LeVert. Now in a completely different role for Atlanta. They're going to need him and his offensive playmaking and scoring. They lost a ton of guys at the trade deadline. I think he plays big minutes, and at 4,500, he's too cheap. I think there's a lot more unknown than usual right now with guys coming into new teams, especially tonight, that we haven't seen play. And I want to take a shot on Karis LeVert here, who we know if he plays 30 minutes here, I mean, he can drop 35, 40 fantasy points easily if his shot's going down. So I like Karis LeVert a lot here.
All right. So that's an excellent point. So this is kind of one of your differentiation plays between DraftKings and FanDuel. FanDuel, he's 0.3%. He's not going to be there, right? Well, that's because, you got somebody like Jordan Clarkson, who's going to be 30%. He's not on the DK slate. Karis LeVert provides he's got the magic combination, the shooting guard, small forward on DraftKings. He is 4,500. And we know what he can do. And this is who fills in for DeAndre Hunter, who has kind of moved on, who fills in for oft injured and much older than we remember, Bogdan Bogdanovic. I thought I read in the article he's like 31 or something like that. I just envision him as kind of that Atlanta guy from multiple years ago in his late or mid to late 20s, but he's kind of stagnated for a couple of years, and he's been hurt so much it's hard to see exactly how they're gonna LeVert, or how there's a void there from him. but there is in that rotation. And then back to back there for Larry Nance Jr. may not play. And now that the George Niang is back, etc. He's not going to be needed all the time either. So LeVert is an interesting call out. What do you see as the upside for LeVert?
Well, I'll say this, like to your point, I think he could get a bunch of his run at like the small forward. No Bogdanovich, as you mentioned, no DeAndre Hunter. Like they're just going to need, offensive prowess on the court. And LeVert is not an amazing offensive player, but he's good. Like that's why he's got value around the league and he's stuck around for so long. I think his upside, I don't know what his minutes upside is. I presume he's going to be coming off the bench. But I think he could play 30 minutes here if he's playing well. Like I don't see why not. Who are they playing ahead of him? Like Vic Krejci, I get it. He's been good, but I think they're going to give LeVert some run here. I really do in Atlanta. Like they're not playing for anything really anymore. He's a pro's pro. I like LeVert quite a bit, and I'm more taking like a risk here. There's another guy we'll talk about that I'm going to take an even bigger risk on, but kind of fits that mold of we don't know what we don't know.
All right. I see chat asking. I know we have the game by game up there on the side. That's just kind of an organization thing. We go on this show, since there's only one show on Saturdays, we go by position for the most part on these. There's just a lot to talk about with these two teams, it being the first game, and both of them involved in multiple trades at all three levels of their teams. That have moving parts. And in the case of Atlanta, they didn't deal Clint Capella. So now they're reintegrating him after 7 games out. So it's like they haven't somebody new besides Onyeka Okongwu. So that's sort of where we go with that one. Yeah, that's okay. But sorry, guys, who didn't. Our goal is to not do that. But this happens about every other show. It's one of the early games that just like, oh my God, there's so much to talk about here. There's 2 games in the first hour. Then you get an hour off, 3 games at 8 o'clock, 1 at 8:30, and then 1 at 9. But DraftKings is just focusing on those first few, and then FanDuel's going with the 2 10 o'clock games on their main slate as well. You know what you can get? All the games, including those early ones that are taking place now, you can get those over on Underdog Fantasy. So key things about the old Underdog Fantasy is if you guys come in through our link here, you get a nice little deal. You get a 50% first deposit match up to $250. You need to come through the link that is in the YouTube channel here. That gives us credit, but it also enables you to get this deal, and it allows us to continue bringing you free content. So definitely sign up through our links whenever you can. But Underdog is phenomenal. They have their pick'em games. They have their daily drafts. They have which are like a best ball, not really best ball, but just a daily draft. They have best ball formats for playoffs, for regular season, rest of season NBA. Rumor is they're going to do something around the All-Star break potentially for rest of season NBA. And then baseball right around the corner. Baseball best ball is kind of interesting. Plus, it's a tongue twister to say that. But check that out. That is over at Underdog Fantasy. And the one fun thing about their pick'em games, a lot of the players, you can choose if you want their points prop to be higher or lower, and it changes the payout for you. So pretty slick there. You can also craft cards that will give you up to 1,000 times payout on that. They're long shots, but hey, why not? Who doesn't love a chip in a chair on something like that? So thank you to Underdog Fantasy for being one of the presenting sponsors today. Reg, we've been talking about point guard. We talked a lot about Jordan Poole. We talked a lot about who else? Trey Young. We talked to Dyson Daniel here. We shifted to Karis LeVert, so we'll come back here. We'll meander our way back. I mentioned Jordan Clarkson. He is one of the more popular options on FanDuel for those playing over there. You have Steph Curry that is popping up. Carlton Carrington the third. Let's just call him Bub. It makes it easier. He's in the mix. We could have Buddy Hield also showing out here. We've got Kobe White in that same game. Bilal Coulibaly somehow has shooting guard. I think of him as a small forward, power forward. He has shooting guard eligibility only today on DraftKings. There are a lot of other options here. Coulibaly is probably someone to spend a minute on. 40% popularity coming in right now on DraftKings. How are you feeling about the mercurial, the roller coaster ride that can be Bilal Coulibaly?
Yeah, honestly, I want to be under on all these Washington guys. I really do, except for Champagny. Like I get it. They are in a good spot and they're still short on bodies, but they have more bodies. All these guys played huge minutes last night. I could see this game just kind of dudding out. Two crappy teams, especially the Washington side. I'm leery of like all this ownership. We just got an update. Ownership hasn't come in yet. It's about to. So I'll be able to speak a little bit more on it when I see that and I'm looking at it.
It's waiting for the Anthony Edwards being out update.
Is
See,
he
Chad, that's
out?
why it's yeah, he just got ruled
Okay.
out. So, guys, why we have to wait for a second on some of this news? If it's not in the tools, how can we talk about it? Then we got to circle back. So right now we can talk about things that are pertinent and we know answers to, and then we can get to the answers in just a moment. See what I did there? Don't try this at home. I am a professional when it comes to dad jokes. Koulibaly.
Yeah, I mean, he looks good. He's pricing the pricing on these guys is getting a little bit up there. He's a little bit overowned. I don't have anything bad to say about him though. Like he's been really good. He fills up the stat sheet and can do a lot of things. So I think if there was one guy outside of Champagny who I think I would be cool riding the chalk with, and not saying I'm not going to play multiple of these guys, but the guy I'd feel best about outside of Champagny is Koulibaly. Even at his increased price tag, probably still not expensive enough, and it is a really good spot.
All right. I don't play favorites, but when I do, Tommy David Walker is a favorite today. Just putting that out there. Who doesn't love a fellow with three first names? Always a crowd pleaser. Hat tip to Matthew Berry. Steph Curry coming into a little bit more prominence here now that we are going to be without Anthony Edwards. We also found out that Mike Conley is out, sprain on his right index finger. Keep in mind he is left-handed, but that has been something the 37-year-old has been dealing with. Lonzo Ball dealing with an illness. He is going to be out today, but Talen Horton-Tucker is available. Dalen Terry is available. So the Bulls are not going to be shorthanded too much by any stretch, because even though they did move out Zach LaVine, they had been playing without him on and off. Plus, they've got Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu. You know, they've got the people they need there. But those are the moving parts for that one. We also have Desmond Bane coming up as questionable with a foot sprain. And let's see, I think that hits the latest news out here. Trae Young confirmed in. He's been dealing with the sore Achilles. Again, this is back-to-back for him. He did play the last, I think, 6 minutes of last night's game. So that's just a situation to monitor for the ice tray. What do you like for your bargain bin ballers here at the bottom for guards?
Well, now, I mean, Rob Dillingham just emerged as the best play on the slate. I mean, no Ant, no Conley, good spot against Portland. I don't see why he wouldn't be a really, really, really good option now. I think Minnesota is where you're looking there. Guy I'm a little bit intrigued with in like large field tournaments is Terrence Shannon Jr. Stud in college at Texas Tech and then Illinois. Uh, Dealt with like a rape charge that was he was ultimately, not he was ultimately acquitted, so nothing came of that. But I think that affected his draft stock. Has been a G leaguer, but this is a guy that if he gets run can put up big numbers in a small amount of time. Again, I don't think I'm going to play him in like one lineup, but keep an eye out for Terrence Shannon Jr. Just throwing that name out there.
So, chat, not happy that you are besmirching the good name of the Trailblazers. They have won 6
I'm
straight
not.
and 10 of their last 11.
They're
You're
playing great
just,
ball, but it's still a good matchup.
come on, people in the Rose City are very sad now that you've brought this up.
Okay.
Very sad. I think Denver's the Rose, or Portland is the Rose City. Someone can verify that for me. I know they played in the Rose Garden, and I think that was because they were in the Rose City, not to be confused with the Emerald City, which is Seattle, also known as the Jet City, also without an NBA team. Carlton Freeze says the perfect part. McDaniel, former University of Washington Husky, Jaden McDaniels is in the mix. With Dante DiVincenzo out, he has really stepped up in it with his field goals. He is up to, do I have my notes up? I believe he is up to like 13 or 14 per game in the games that DiVincenzo has been out. I know in his last 5, he's averaging 14.3. That's compared to 9.3 per season. So for the full season, he's also averaging a career high in points. What this does for him is it allows his points to now become the baseline for his fantasy production, and his proclivity for blocks, steals, and rebounds, those hustle stats, that becomes his upside. Whereas in prior years, we needed him to put the biscuit in the basket and drain those corner threes for his upside. He's now become, he's not a scorer, but he's at least a complementary piece. And with the 3 top offensive players out for this team, he can step up. And as we saw last year in the playoffs, he can have 20 NBA point games. So I like him a lot here. That was the one up call out I want to make.
McDaniels.
Yeah.
Okay.
In this one. All right. If we do a point per dollar look, it's Carlton, Carrollton, Koulibaly, Poole, Curry, Buddy Hield, Dyson Daniel. Let's see. That's all there is on the DK slate. Trae Young. Those are the guys popping up. We will get another projection update here that we just did. That is going to be getting Anthony Edwards out. So let's take one more look here before we move to forward. Get both sides. So filtering by guard using the points per dollar hat tip to you, Rob Dillingham, 3,500 on DK, projected for 28.22 fantasy points in 26.3 minutes. Let's see. Ooh.
There's also Jalen Clark.
Jalen Clark. What do you know about Jalen? Other than there are 20 players in the NBA right now named Jalen. Well, there could be more since the Wizards just added 2 on 10-day contracts.
I'm sure there's more.
What do you got for Jalen Clark here? Because he is shooting guard, small forward eligibility, 3,200, and projecting for a tick shy of 20 fantasy points on DraftKings at 3,200.
Yeah, he's the main reason I don't like Terrence Shannon more. I think he's standing in the way of that. He's the one that's getting the run, and he's been good. I mean, he's in the rotation anyways. He's not an amazing fantasy producer, but he's going to play more now. You got 2 guards out, 3 including DiVincenzo. So I think you're going to see a lot of Dillingham, a lot of Clark. I think Shannon is going to be in the mix too. I'm not going to lie. Like Conley was out there last game, I'm pretty sure. They've had both of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Conley's
you're going to
been
see
playing in this stretch. He's still kind of stuck in that 22-minute soft cap range.
I think you're going to see Shannon get some minutes too. Clark, Dillingham, Clark, Shannon. That's how I'd rank them pretty clearly.
Right. Let's talk about Jimmy Butler for a second here. He is available.
I was just about to bring him up. So
all right,
go ahead.
Is available to play. He should have fresh legs at this point. To me, this just seems absolutely wild. As much as I am happy to see how Andrew Wiggins has sort of turned around and developed into a very competent wing, a good defender, adding in on the offense, improving on his threes, etc. Do you think that they're better off with playoff Jimmy maybe, but do you think they're better off with Butler at that exorbitant contract for the next 2 years?
Well, I think those are 2 different questions because the contract.
Are they better with Butler? Let's just focus on that for tonight's purposes.
I do. I think that Jimmy is a true needle mover. I still don't think they're good enough, but give me Butler over Wiggins all day. The last game that Jimmy was motivated for, do you know how many fantasy points he put up?
Let's see. Was that when he took the second unit and beat the first unit?
One of the times. No.
Well, sock it to me, as they used to say once.
You'll never even believe this. This is literally the last game he played He played one other time over 30 minutes besides this game. He didn't go over 30 fantasy points in any game after this. He dropped 88.8 in a non-overtime game against the Pistons. Um, against the against the Pistons, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't say here. 35, 19, and 10 with 4 steals. I'm not saying we're going to get that from Butler going forward, but we're going to see motivated Jimmy. They just paid this guy 50, they're paying him 50 plus million a year. I I love Butler here. Like, I
All
don't
right, so that
understand.
was yeah, that was the 19th game he played this season. That was back on December 16th. We are now in February. We are a week away from Valentine's Day. Not that that matters for any of us in the DFS world, if you know what I mean, because it's going to be the All-Star break. They're trying to get us out to touch some grass there. But wow, that was a long time ago. But yeah, I did not know that that game existed. But 87.8 fantasy points there on FanDuel, 88.75 on DraftKings. Well, if you would ask me what his high for the season was, I would have said, oh, he might have gotten to 60 once. I bet he had a couple 50s in there before he got annoyed. Would have never guessed that he was even over 70. That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. All right, let's see what Chad is angry with me for now. What else do we got? Did we get any news coming in? We don't care about Marvin Bagley. Spurs. Let's see here. Spurs starting lineup is going to be Chris Paul, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, and Victor Wembanyama. Back-to-back for them. If I remember correctly, Wemby played around 30 or 32 minutes last night. So no worries on that one. Guy Santos is available for Golden State. We mentioned Champagny is going to be a start. Well, I didn't mention he's starting, but he is starting for George. I had thought he might. Remember, he was someone that had a moment about 4 weeks ago when the Wizards were thin with Kuzma and Poole out. So he is in play for us tonight. He missed last
You know what I'll
night.
say about him though? Like, I don't mean to cut you off, but all of a sudden now he's only power forward eligible, and that
Oh, I
position
thought he was
looks
still small
no,
forward.
and that position looks
Mm.
good now. Like, Naz Reid is one of the best plays on the slate. There are just a bunch of really good power forwards. So I don't think he's like a must play. He does look good though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought he was still small forward because he'd been out of the rotation there for a hot minute. We have a super chat here asking who's going to play in the Denver and Phoenix game. Great question. We got a lot of questionables here. You got Jamal Murray, who missed the last game. He is questionable with that sore knee. You have Michael Porter Jr. questionable with a tender hammy. Russell Westbrook is still out. Bradley Beal missed the last game. He has a sore big toe. Grayson Allen played in the last game, but now he is dealing with knee soreness. And then Kevin Durant, angry / traded / might as well give him the day off. He is questionable. We saw Booker have an excellent game last night. If you stayed up for that one, I think that one went into overtime. I was reading the box scores this morning, but he had a really strong game. So we
It
would
did
like
go into
him.
overtime. Utah did not cover 7.5, and they were up by they were
Oh,
up a lot. Yeah.
that was a Jazz Raz special. I think he said plus 6.5 in his Discord, in his sports betting Discord. That would be the Jazz from Jazz Raz, Ben Rossa there. Oh, goodness. So good questions there. That could be your fun little late night advantage. Let me look here and see. So players. So we know Misic is not going to play. He was traded to Phoenix. We know that Cody Martin also traded. He is not playing. I'm just trying to rule people out. Peyton Watson's going to be out for like a month. Oh shit! I didn't even say Aaron Gordon. He's probably going to be questionable for the rest of the season, but he's dealing with this sore calf. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts here. So if you want to play your cards and leave availability there, if you have a 2v2 or 2 available slots from that game, you'll be able to utilize your salary and not leave anything on the table if you have like your utility and a forward spot or your utility and a guard spot or even a guard and forward spot, you should have the maximum flexibility to make that work because Booker, you would, even if Durant's in, you're still going to like him. Durant and Beal get in, well, then maybe you're looking at Michael Porter if Murray's out, etc. So there's a myriad of combinations here that we're not going to know in the next 20 minutes, but that's a good call out from that game. Sorry, what was that?
It's the Hawks lineup is out.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. Mike's got the Hawks lineup there up on the screen. Ice Tray, Dyson, Risa Shea. Oh, Yang starting. Did you think Yang was going to start in the Congo?
Not shocking just because of their lack of power forward, but I mean, I think he's in play at 3,700, but I don't know if I want to use like lack of roster spot on him. Like all of a sudden, man, with this Ant news, I think this first game is going to be overowned. Like I know that could be the kiss of death for me by saying that it's Atlanta, Washington, but both these teams played last night, and there are more bodies than they've had on each side. So I'm hesitant. I still like Champagny, Koulibaly, Carrington. None of them are like dirt cheap though. So just want to throw that out there.
All right. Let's look at quickly while we're waiting for the next wave of news to hit. So for the Nans Reed, key things for him is he sucked last Saturday. He played 19 minutes, broke everybody's heart. He was chalk. His next 3 games, over 40 fantasy points in each of them, averaging in these 3 games, 37.2 minutes, 18 field goal attempts, knocking down almost half of them, 22.3 points, 8.7 rebounds, 4.3 assists, and 3 combined blocks and steals, aka stocks.
Wow, we just got an update on Clint Capella is out.
It's out.
And Colby Jones won't make his Wizards debut today. So that is one less body, but Capella being out does change things because it makes Okongwu look a lot better.
Makes Okongwu look a lot better. Now we get why Yang is probably starting. It probably keeps Larry Nance Jr. in the mix, even though he's oft injured and they weren't always playing on back-to-backs. His latest issue has been a hand injury. He is the Otto Porter Jr. of play him more than his exact minutes limit, and he gets hurt with some weird thing up to and including being struck by lightning walking in the parking lot after the game. I don't know. These are just how the universe works with some of these players. It's this do not exceed, right? Do not feed the gremlins after midnight. These are simple rules, Matt. There's a pop culture reference for 5 people in chat. Speaking of 5, we got Mustang Man Mike asking for his 5 favorite FanDuel cash game plays. Let's me go on over to the old blue site here and let's take a peek at what we have. And then we'll let you round out with top end forwards, Matt. So I think Rob Dillingham, pretty much a must. He is 88%. You can go with Nickeil Alexander-Walker as well. Shooting guard, small forward, gets that matchup against Portland. Yes, they have won 10 of their last 11, but their defense is still questionable. Naz Reid also in the mix as I think a premier play on all sides in all formats. Justin Champagny, here's where he is small forward eligible. He is 4,300 on FanDuel. That is a screaming value. Those would be the 4 I would look at. You asked for 5. Oh, I wouldn't be against Jordan Poole, but he could break your heart. Perhaps Jordan Clarkson, last wave of games. That's not included on DraftKings. You could play him at shooting guard or small forward, and he is 5,900. He is going to be on 20% of lineups. I would probably go that route and cash, take the savings, and find a little bit of differentiation off Jordan Poole. Remember, I like to play my cash games just a slightly different in NBA, and that would be a spot where I'd be willing to take less volatility from Jordan Poole, take the volatility from Jordan Clarkson, but upgrade one of the positions more securely with that trade-off. Anything you want to add there on the FanDuel cash?
No, obviously a lot different with those 2 late games with pieces viable from both of them. So I think you laid it up pretty well.
All right. Someone mentioning, do you like anybody from the Magic? No. They're kind of mostly healthy, which... and you got Paolo Banchero back, you've got Franz Wagner back. those guys, I don't want to say they cap each other's upside, but they take a tremendous amount of the usage. If I was going to play anybody, it would probably be a cheaper Cole Anthony, but we have all sorts of guard value from the Wizards. Now we've got Rob Dillingham. That makes Anthony less appealing here. But Tadze, we'll have to see where his minutes are at. But again, everybody's healthy, and you've got Wendell Carter Jr. still in there. Orlando, just a very good team. Nobody super spectacular. Two of the guys going to get 40 fantasy points. Sure. One of them going to get 50. I don't know. I want 50 from someone. I want the possibility of 50. And I don't know that that's there. We get randomly, you were to get Boncaro or Wagner out, then the other would become a very strong play.
I think Boncaro is the answer, though. You know, if you're looking for an Orlando guy, yeah, it's Boncaro. Anthony he's too expensive now with those guys in and the cheap guard. So he's cheaper than those two, but he's not cheap enough. So it'd be Boncaro. The tools actually really like Boncaro here. He projects for 44.5 fantasy points at 8,400. Like, that's not amazing, but that's pretty good. And he's coming in under-owned right now. So he would be the guy for me. I'm not getting there. I'm only playing one lineup, so it is what it is type of deal. But he would be the clear guy for me, the only guy for me on the Orlando side.
All right. Guys, did you know we have a great OddsShopper deal? 75% off. You can use the promo code SB75. That stands for Super Bowl and 75% off SB75. You can see that in the upper corner here let me get there, right up there. So check that out. Great deal. For those of you that haven't signed up for OddsShopper, you're not doing sports wagering right now. If you are in the great state of Florida, I don't know if I want to call it a great state here. If you are in the wonderfully warm and sunny state of Florida, Malcolm Brogdon under on 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists stands out on Hard Rock with a 6.6% expected value. Let's look at the rest of the world. If you are playing where you have FanDuel Sportsbook, your option is Stephen Castle. Points, rebounds, and assists, 18.5. The numbers say take the under, a 7% expected value on that one. So check that out. That is OddsShopper doing all the heavy lifting. You know what? I like the mass entry tool. You just got to set up your portfolio, click on the book, and then you set your filters, click on mass enter, and it goes and pulls all those bets for you on the sportsbook site. And then you just type in what number you want to bet or the dollar amount you want to bet on them. Very easy. On screen, very easy. Yeah. And Mike's got that up on the screen. So easy, even I can do it. I figured I would break it and it would be hard to understand. No, you literally just click a button and then it asks you to log into your sportsbook. The rest is easy. The rest is easy. All right, 15 minutes to go here. Let's see. Lou Dort is out. Let's see. We got the George Yang starting lineup. Clint Capella out. Not a huge surprise. Probably a conditioning thing. All right, I think we're good. Anything else on the forwards, and do you have a center that you'd like to draw attention to?
So talked about Jimmy Butler. He's the most important forward. And then, yeah, center. The other forward I'll talk about that pivots into center because he's dual eligible is Draymond Green. I like this Golden State squad tonight. I think you see Draymond, Steph, and Butler all play really well, rejuvenated in a great spot against a fast-paced Chicago team. And on the other side of that, I like Vooch a lot. Chicago or Golden State has no one inside to match up with him. He's going to take whoever they put on him outside. I like Vooch quite a bit here. No more trade rumors or anything like that, at least for the time being. I like this game as a whole. Vooch is my favorite piece from Chicago.
All right. I see Chad asking, any leans on the Porter Jr. question? Like, no. Sorry. This time of year, questionable. I mean, on a Saturday or a Sunday, just it's the NBA. And I can't, we saw Ant kind of sit out of nowhere. At least we got that in advance. There's going to be something else that upsets the apple cart tonight because that's just what happens in the NBA in the weekends. A lot of that is masked by college football and then Sunday NFL. But, you know, players have a little bit of fun on Friday or a Saturday night. And then the next day, those dreaded flu-like symptoms. Though nobody says flu-like symptoms anymore. That's just kind of a baseball thing, I guess, these days. the dreaded flu-like symptoms. It's been a while since I've had flu-like symptoms. I don't
I
like
have
being
I have them
hungover.
right now. I have flu-like
You have
symptoms right now.
actual influenza-like system or symptoms minus like I don't want to be if I want to feel hungover, I stay up till midnight watching games and then I'm grumpy the next morning. That's all I need to do. So there we are. There we are. Yes, Nate, brown bottle flu. That is the truth. That is the truth. All right, we got 14 minutes to go. Oh, do we think Cat sits with his downgrade? What was let's do a quick why is my control F not working? So Towns questionable right knee soreness going against Boston. Boston favored by 4. Drew Holiday out. OG Anunoby also out. I don't know. Maybe he sits. Hard to get a good read on that one. I mean, we would expect Boston to be favored in this one. That's still a pretty close spread for it being a road game. So I would be guessing he's in. Tough matchup, right? He's gonna have to go against Porzingis or Horford and or Tatum, etc. So he's really not a priority for me. If you're trying to figure out is Precious Achiuwa going to become viable, or I don't think we need to go. Did Jericho Sims get traded, or is he still with?
I think he's gone. But I will say it's not even about. I don't know, but it's not even about that. It's about. I think Mitchell Robinson, is he healthy now?
I know he's close to a return, but I think they've been iffy about it.
If he's out, like with OG already out, I mean Brunson, Hart, and Bridges would all look really good.
Yeah, because my thought would be all right. Bridges still a tough matchup. It's interesting. Hart always overachieves on the rebounds. Going against Tatum, who underachieves on the rebounds. Fun game to watch, but I don't know if the fantasy goodness is there. Let's see. Hart would gain steam. That is the general consensus. Oh, Sims is on the Bucks. Oh, and it says Robinson has been cleared for contact, so he's probably getting ready for 5-on-5 practices or participating in that. All right, it's 12 minutes to go. I should probably start building some lineups here. I'm playing on a lot of sites tonight. Do the nuke of the night. Well, God, I would have said Anthony Edwards, but no, that was taken away from us. We don't want to go with Jordan Poole because he is going to either nuke or nuke your lineups. That is truly your nuke of the night. I'm going with Dyson Daniels.
I like it. I'm going with a guy. Easy call for me here. He is the definition of nuke in that he is going to either nuke my lineup or nuke, for me, and that's Jimmy Butler. Talked about it earlier. 2% owned. You've got a motivated and happy Jimmy now. Going back to his old stomping grounds in Chicago. I like Jimmy a ton here. Presuming he plays full run, I don't see why he wouldn't.
All right. I think that is a good call out there. You went with Jimmy Butler. I went with Dyson Daniel. So there we are. Let me see. We're getting other news here. Let's go look and see what we got for questions. Butler's no minutes limits that we know of. I just hadn't played a lot, but
I don't think there's a limit, but I don't want him playing. I'd hope he plays in the 30s, not 30.
I would agree. I would agree with that. All right. I think I can get by on Yahoo without playing anybody in the first 2 games. All right, so let's quickly make a lineup so I immediately play people in the first game. That's not how you set a late lineup there, Mr. McPherson. Who is the player you are terrified that you do not have enough representation of?
Well, I'm only playing one lineup, and I'm not playing Jordan Poole, so he's the answer.
Okay. How do you feel about, since he is on both slates, Nikola Jokic?
I mean, what's not to like about Jokic? Could only
3-time MVP, 2-time.
He's a
ranking MVP.
He's the best fantasy player I've ever seen, or the best player in fantasy basketball I've ever seen, I should say. You could get no Porter Jr., maybe no Murray, the more guys that are out, the better he looks. You got Phoenix coming off a game that they went to overtime last night. This is a great spot for Yoke. Depending on the value that comes out, I think that he is a great option, as he always is.
Do you thinking maybe a little lead-legged look here from some of the Phoenix Suns?
I mean, they suck anyways, so potentially that's always in play for them.
Were you surprised they didn't trade Durant?
No, I don't think he wanted to be traded, and at least not yet. So, we'll see what happens with him. But no, I think that he nicks the deal to Golden State, and they'll move on with their lives for now.
Do you think that was a Draymond thing? Personality thing?
I think it was probably an all-encompassing thing. I don't think Draymond helped, but I don't think it was like a one-on-one Draymond thing. No.
Carl Anthony Towns still game time decision.
Who is Mike?
He's still game time.
All right. Who would you go with, SGA or Joker? I would go with Joker.
Easily Jokic if it's a one-on-one, a one-for-one.
Let's get my little FanDuel lineups going here in the simulator. Don't tell me I need to log. What? I'm already logged in. You were running a sim for me. This is what happens. It feels like I'm getting laid off. Would suck. Losing access to your systems. Being told you can't come to work anymore. I don't know. But you know what we can talk about real quick while this is rebooting? The Stokastic link join. This is how you can get a free month of any single sport Sims package by joining one of the 11 sites that Mike just had flashed up on the screen there. If you come in through our link and you join, get it? We drop the link, you join. You will get to sign up at these accounts or at one of these sites. All you need to do is show us your welcome email and your first settled pick'em card, wager, whatever it might be, and we will get you 1 month of Stokastic Sims of your choice. You have to send those screenshots to support@stokastic.com. We do not magically know when you come in through our link and you have played, but we can verify that you came in through our link. Very helpful for us if you give us all that information, and boom, you will get the Sims set up for you for any sport of your choice. 1 full month. I will drop that little link there in chat. Top value play by position from Charles Moran on DK for tournaments. Matt, since you were doing a single lineup, how did you kind of flesh that one?
So we're talking about top values.
Top values.
Dillingham easily number 1 at point guard. I'll say Jalen Clark and Nikhil Alexander-Walker as the shooting guard, small forward combo. Probably
Who do you want to
Penny.
use? Who do you want to use those funds on?
Steph Curry. Talked about Jimmy Butler, Vucevic, Jokic. There's definitely places to go with your money. Yeah, I don't really think center is a place I want to spend down. Holmes still at 4,700, but he's not like a cheap guy anymore.
Let's get this little FanDuel template downloaded. This is where I have to remember I'm doing 150 on FanDuel, but 100 on DraftKings. Just my strategy. Just fire and forget on FanDuel on the blue site. Let me see. Ooh, I'm going to be cutting this close because there's a lot of people using the site right now. Slowing down the resource intensive bandwidth. Yes, it's taking a little time to assign the payouts. Now, again, this is the risk of doing these things while you're up on the show. And while I did not play in my Yahoo lineup, I went away from that first game. I do not want to do, or the first 2 games, I do not want to do that on FanDuel. Now on Yahoo, I'm just playing one lineup, so I am totally comfortable with that. Wow, Justin Champagny on 80% of my lineups. See, this is where you play different sites and you get different results. So I'm good with that. Let me download that information. Now is panic time. 5 minutes. 5 minutes left. So let me get this uploaded and then I will launch a DK lineup. And this is the beauty of The Sims. I can do all of this while Matt has a clear 2v2 he is trying to figure out. Would you like
I'm
some
good.
crowdsourcing help? You've got it.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
At least for now. I mean, we got a lot of late news, so things can change, but for now, I'm good.
So Jimmy Butler is in your lineup, it looks like.
Yes, it is. Yes, he is. That
And
probably won't change.
Dillingham is in your lineup.
That will not change.
Okay. Are you trying to figure out a Denver play? That's my guess.
I'm not trying to figure out anything as of right now.
You're
I'm
just
good.
letting the news come to you. Oh shit! There's only 3 minutes. Uh-oh. This
Yeah, I
is
mean,
where
listen.
is EMac going to get his lineups in? I don't think so. I may not be playing anybody from the first 2 games on DraftKings. That would not be a savvy decision.
Well, better than not having lineups in.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think it's going to make it. This is good. So see, but notice how I'm not angry. See, I've learned you can't get angry about the silliness of this sort of stuff. People like today, I mean, I know everybody wanted to get angry about Anthony Davis and his little missed his injury. He put out, what did he have, like 26 points before he got hurt or something like that?
Yeah, it was the full AD experience.
Yeah. This stuff happens. It just takes one lineup to break free. We had that night, I guess it was almost 2 weeks ago, where there was 2 zeros in a lot of lineups because 2 people didn't play after lock. I think it was Al Horford and it might have been somebody for Atlanta. And then there was somebody that got hurt early, Alex Sarr or something like that. I actually had a really good night that night, even though I had about 30% of each of those players. I lucked into just one lineup breaking free. And that ended up taking it home in top 3 finish in the mini max. So,
And Austin Reeves had a game today.
Did he?
45, 7, 7, and 3 steals, 70 fantasy points.
Oh my God. Let me just upload this real quick so I don't have to go with nothing. So he had an over under on his, and I know LeBron was going to be out. So in using the OddsShopper, I saw that today. It was like, oh my God, 26.5 points for points was his over under. And it was standing out as a good value because when you're using OddsShopper, it's looking at the rest of the market. Not all of the market had figured out, and there wasn't that many options up there that, LeBron is doubtful, and there were some other things there, but that was one that I looked at and I said, hey, I don't want to go there because there's too many question marks. Whereas when I saw it, I'm like, oh, this is a windmill slam. So when you're looking at OddsShopper super early, first thing in the morning for NBA, you've got to know what's going on and who might be questionable, because it mucks a little bit with some of the historical context, but it goes in both directions. Right. So if something looks too good to be true, I just have a news page up and I just say, hey, is there anything pending on this team that I need to be aware of? And then I can decide if I want to keep that in the mass upload tool or take it out or soften it a little bit. Instead of making $10 bets, make a $5 bet on it or something like that, of that nature. So just food for thought there. But we are at lock. I can smell a delicious dinner there in the other room. So I'm going to go hang out with mom and with wife, and they probably ate without me because my wife's running a half marathon tomorrow and tonight is carbo loading. But there's some delicious chicken I could smell with pasta and red sauce. So this will be good. Mike, are you ready for the Super Bowl? Do you want to give us your Super Bowl predictions?
Yeah, I will not give you a homer take. I honestly feel like the Eagles are the better team. I think they have the more talent at every position except for probably quarterback and maybe kicker.
And head coach. What do you mean probably quarterback?
No, I'm saying, I mean, probably as the only position. Then I was thinking of Jake Elliott. And I think better defensive line, better offensive line, better special teams overall, aside from the kicker. They have a better secondary. They have a better running game. They don't have the better tight end. I will give Kelsey and his old balls that over Goddard. But and the better coach, who's, I'm Andy Reid from my early days. I think if both teams play their best game, the Eagles will win by a touchdown. I don't know if that's going to happen. And here's my hot take. The whole universe is thinking who's going to be the biggest player, Saquon. I don't think that. I think that they're going to throw the ball like fucking madmen in the first quarter. We'll see if I'm right. Nobody's expecting that. I hand built some lineups, first half lineups, because you can do that in New York with that in mind. But go Birds! And it's been a fun NFL season for the shows I did, and shout out to you guys for saying
so
that.
Here's
also,
hilarious.
On the basketball thing, I will keep the playback feed up as long as I can and try to kind of reboost that, but sometimes it falls. I'm heading out to bartend tonight and then get hammered tomorrow. I'll let you get back to basketball. Go Birds!
All right, so this is hopefully he's watching DFS RG World Ranked. He sent me a note because Greg and I were talking about numerology, and he sent me this on December 29th. He said, this is why the Eagles are going to make the Super Bowl. Former Eagles linebacker Bill Bergey passed away on December 25th, Christmas. His birthday is February 9th. Saquon's birthday, February 9th. That's tomorrow. And the Super Bowl is on the 9th. So he said, this is just on the surface, but I think the Eagles at least go to the Super Bowl, if not win it all.
It's also Cooper DeJean's
5 weeks ago, he sent that to me. So
it's also Cooper DeJean's birthday tomorrow too. And a year ago, Shane Gillis had a great stand-up bit about white cornerbacks being preposterous and a unicorn, and you'll never see them again. And we got two of those exciting whites in the back.
All right. With that, gamers, you can follow Matt on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. I am at EMac DFS, and of course, it is Stokastic _COM. Good luck.